Welcome to the Energy Hack Podcast, where we explore the dynamic of the downstream, the midstream sector of energy. I am your host, Dami Ajayi. Today I have a special guest. He's a veteran in our industry. He's a leader. He has worked in several places, namely Accela, Eagle Pinpoint Consulting. He's currently the CEO at EnergyCrossHair Solutions. He has his own foundation where he helps people grow and achieve their full potential. On the streets, they call him the enabler. But welcome with me, Mr. Myke Oseh. Mr. Myke, you're welcome to the Energy Hack Podcast.
Thank you.
It's good to have you.
Appreciate.
We've had several discussions even before now.
Absolutely.
So it's good to be able to dive in and know who you are and everything. But Mr. Myke, I have a question.
I'm here. Yeah.
Like a year ago,
Okay.
right, you made me lose an argument, but you don't know.
I see. Tell me.
You made me lose an argument, and it hurts me because my pride was let down.
Okay. So
I had a
tell me.
friend, right, and we discussed. We were just having a regular discussion, like we are now.
Yeah.
And he said, there are mics. It just came out. There are mics that have a Y. And I argued it. I said, no way. It's impossible. English doesn't state that.
Absolutely.
I've never met any.
Okay.
And to my surprise, we went on a search engine. And what did we find? Your name was first, including your tag, the enabler.
Okay.
I'm willing for you to debunk that and tell me that, so that I have proof.
It was a mistake.
It was a mistake. So tell me, is that a mistake?
Actually, it is not. It is the precursor to the bigger branding that eventually happened later. Full name is Michael, as you would know. Most people shorten it to Mike.
Okay.
But there are many mics in the world. And a simple way to stand out was just Myke.
Okay. So I kind of win.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy about this. I'm going to revisit the argument.
Please do. Please do,
Well,
by
yes.
all means.
Thank you.
And
And leading up to the name, you are the enabler. I have many definitions.
Okay.
If I tell you a definition that I know, you're going to look at me and tell me.
Try.
The enabler means I will ask you for funding now for a business. You're not going to be angry. You're just going to give me. There's no equity involved. There's nothing.
Go with it.
Is that correct?
I'm listening. Go with it.
No, that's my main. I don't
Is that your only definition?
That's why I want to stop. That's why I want to stop.
Okay.
How did this start? How did you get this name enabler? And what does it mean? And everything about it.
Okay, so I think it's safe to start with the fact that I am a man of many parts. The part of me you encounter depends on the context. Yeah. I do many things across many different knowledge domains and different sectors.
Yes.
And even though I'm primarily an energy executive and entrepreneur, I do many other things. And besides what happens in the marketplace, there are things that I do outside in society. So the enabler is one brand that, let's just say, properly encapsulates all of the different expressions, or sometimes I call them platforms that I have and I operate through. And so when I was thinking about it, just like I would imagine when you brainstormed Energy Hack and all of that, I was thinking enabler with ER, that's the English word.
It's typical, it's obvious.
It's typical, it's obvious.
Yes.
Yeah, it's lame, it's lazy. I mean, my word is to be considered lazy, So we came up with enabler with the A, and then we registered it. So this is properly registered with Trade and Investment Ministry, under one of our entities, because it helps capture, as I said, a lot of the things that I do. So the way I then define that is that I am the enabler because I help create ecosystems that enable, empower, equip businesses, individuals, teams, communities to unleash their own spark. Another day I'll talk about what the spark means. But since we are in an energy hack, I'll stay with
No, I've
that.
seen
But
that with that
to
foundation and everything.
help unleash their own spark.
Yes.
So there's inherent in the wiring is the ability to help people do things. So your 1 million or whatever you're asking for, it is to sit with you to say, how can I help you go find that funding?
Okay.
So that you learn to do the fishing. You never have to need me to do any other thing you need to do. Because once we are done, not only would you have the knowledge, the skills, and the competencies, you can do it. And you can do it on your own.
That's amazing.
So that's what encapsulates the Enabler brand and helps people maximize their lives, maximize their businesses. So
how long has this brand, this name? Because me, I see it, I hear it, but I want to know when. At one point, did you say, you know what, I'm going to give myself that name? And what made you, like, people? Yes, a few people do give themselves tag names.
Yeah.
But this really stuck. Right? What made you say, I want to give myself that name and not just be known by, because I'm going to go find a name now. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. Yes. I think you can or you should. So what had happened was that in the last 25 years I have worked in, as you would have seen, consulting, oil servicing, energy businesses, banking, and all of that, 25 years plus. So as I was exiting, corporate life, there was a question, what would you be? Who would you be? So that was when I started thinking of that. And because when I was in corporate life, I can only do one aspect of the number of things that I want to do, I'm able to do, it wasn't relevant. But after exiting, obviously on my own, I'm able to I can wake up on a Tuesday and you find me in a technology context, or on a Friday, I'm with the foundation doing all kinds of things. We have an Eagle Boys, we call it Eagle Boys program. His boys 10 to 21, or the better part of the week, I'm in an energy conference, either as a keynote or or doing project development, which is one of my passions, or financing and all of those things. So I think as I was exiting that just became important, that what would encapsulate what I do. So on my LinkedIn, you would see I'm an energy executive, I'm a philanthropist, I'm a business strategist, I'm a coach. Yeah. I do many things, but to the extent that we are here on the energy side, I think you're going to hear a lot about the energy part of me.
You're a man with many coats, I must say.
Well, yes, I wear many hats, but I don't confuse the hats. Just so you know,
yes, I am aware.
Anywhere I am, the context determines what people see. But I'm predominantly, energy. You see a lot of, energy content, or energy development, energy things, and I'm passionate about gas.
I know.
Passionate about.
We'll definitely touch on gas.
Power,
and I'm sure I'm really excited.
Yeah. So that's when I took on that brand to help me really define who I am. And just something I wanted to say, I never really advertised it. I never boosted any posts that came with it. Okay. So it's surprising that you got to know.
Yeah,
because
it's everywhere.
I never did. I just went to all of my platforms and updated them, and anything I did, and obviously it has a logo on its own and all of that. But I never did, at least up until now. I may after now, but I never did. But I then go to many places now, and people.
Yes, it's amazing, and to be honest, that's one of the things that drew me to you.
I see.
And you know the way we met, right? Yeah. And I would say something. It shows your character, to be honest. You are so humble. I just got your number and I called you. And people will not know. I just picked up the call. I mean, I thought of it a couple of times. Like, what would I say? Do I have to remix some things to make it sweet. I watched some things that, okay, it was his countenance. And it was so amazing that when I called you, you picked up first of all. You don't know the number. A lot of people might send a text, and you actually gave me audience. I expected you to just give me that shoulder, you understand? Like, speak to my PA first. That's what I was expecting, send your proposal. And we spoke in depth, and, you gave me a date immediately. And that's 2 dates. One of the dates is where we are right now. And it just shows that you're actually a leader, and what you say is what you do, and I really appreciate it. I was really surprised. I mean, there's only a couple of people that have done that, in general, but maybe next time just give me that that shoulder. Talk to my PA.
You would not know that maybe your grandmom or your wife or somebody else was praying for you, and that day was just prayer answered. And and most people know I really don't, pick up numbers I don't know.
Yes.
But as I said, somebody was praying for you.
It worked out. Let's leave it like that. So we don't spoil it for other people.
It worked out that day.
People start calling you now.
Okay, so
I'm intrigued, and I'm glad to have you here on this platform. And it's an opportunity for me to even learn more.
Okay.
And I've asked this question to several people, several industry experts that know a lot about the energy, especially the downstream and midstream. And I asked them this one question, and I get various answers.
Okay.
And this question is, how do you feel? How does the enabler feel about this sector? How do you feel when you hear downstream and midstream sector in our country, in Africa? What's the first thing you feel?
I think I'll answer you by telling you a personal story.
Okay.
I had a first degree in computer science and engineering, so I've not always been an energy person.
Interesting.
Yeah. And like you would guess, whatever I'm doing, I threw all myself, my life and everything into it. So everything from coding to internet to, I was Cisco certified, Microsoft certified. I did the whole shebang, security and all of that. 2006 was when I made the switch from the only thing I knew to something that I knew next to nothing about. Apart from the chemistry and the chemical engineering that we did in school and all of that, I had nothing to do, no knowledge of the energy space when I switched to energy in 2006. And it is because, call it naivety or whatever it is that they say this country has this much gas versus the oil, and it's only the oil we focused on for this long. And I know what gas has done and continues to do in other places, other countries. Yeah. So even though I'm going to come in as a rookie, I'm willing to get into this industry. So when I hear, to answer your question, when I hear about energy, especially midstream, downstream, I am connecting it to what would be a life decision that I made. Because I was 2006, very naive, young person, back then, a much younger person back then. And I made a switch into something I didn't know too much about. So I'm thinking of, it could have gone wrong.
Or it could have.
It could have gone wrong, and everything I knew about technology, I left it behind to get into this energy space. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. That is this energy sector is the reason I made a critical life decision that I wasn't very sure what the outcome was going to be. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that it was, especially the part of it that I was focused on, which was natural gas, it wasn't anything funky. It wasn't anything everyone was
going into at that time.
Yeah, I mean, now we are talking about this, and I will get to how we get here, but it wasn't anything everybody was talking about.
It wasn't the
cool thing. It wasn't, the government wasn't even keen on it. Most of the people fled whatever they had because it was an inconvenience, But I kind of get the sense that if we do something about this could become the blessing. Because somebody wrote a book about the cost of oil. So I was thinking that we can actually do something and this will become the blessing of gas. So when I think about that, I am excited. I'm still excited, of course. That's why I'm sitting here. I'm still very excited, about the sector, because I did a research once. 7 of the 11 SDG goals is underpinned by energy.
Yes. Correct.
So if you don't get the energy part of it properly grounded and done, most of your SDG goals
you can't achieve them.
Yeah. So I think that's part of what's
you are
excited. I'm excited.
You are ecstatic.
It wakes me up.
Your face looks very happy. So I'm glad, because I'm in that field. If you go the other way around, I don't have much time, but I can still pivot. But no, I'm joking. But I'm glad to hear that, and that shows that there is optimism. In the air, and I see it currently, especially in this gas era we're in. I mean, if you look at the time when the PIB was first launched, for me, I was not in this space when it was being pushed, which I think everyone has pushed it. No matter what we think about it, there were steps, and that's the way I look at it. And now we are hearing so much announcements about this gas that you've been pushing since 2006, and it's a good thing. And I would like to pivot into that a bit.
Okay.
There's a lot of things going on right now in gas, and I'm glad to hear it, and I'm sure you are, right? And we're finally getting to where you've been speaking about since 2006. That's a long time. That must have been a lonely road for a lot of you, especially you as well at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And for a lot of the veteran natural gas professionals, executives, and businesses, yes, it was lonely, because as you already said, the PIB at that time, it was in there forever. By the time it was finally signed, it's been in the works for 20 years. So that just tells you, how long it's lived, But I think the bigger part of it was when I got into NGA, Nigerian Gas Association. I was a council member. And NGA has been at the forefront. We describe it as the voice of natural gas in Nigeria. It's the umbrella body of anybody that's doing anything natural gas. So it was a strong voice, an advocacy platform, to help government, see that this is a resource, that, has a direct link to economic development in most countries.
Yes.
Direct link.
Yes.
Direct link to economic development and many, many other things. And today, actually, if you think of, if you see our foreign exchange receipts, you would have crude oil and then gas, and then you have all the other things, from NLNG and the West African gas pipeline, all the exports that are bringing in. So the advocacy, also helped. All of the presidents. I did shout out to all of the presidents of NGA and all of the council members through the years.
Yes.
That have helped,
pushing that agenda.
Pushing that agenda to say, let's focus on this, let's do something about this, let's incentivize it, let's bring out fiscals that make people develop infrastructure and all of the things we've talked about. And sometimes, and I think you are already in that line where you go to conferences, the same thing. Something we talked about 20 years ago, people are repeating it, in the 21st century, or in the last 5 years or 10 years, and you are wondering, when are we going to do something about it? So you can imagine the excitement, in our circle when government first declared, was it 2020 as the year of gas, and then after that declared, the next decade as the decade of gas. And then even back that up with a committee and a group of people that are focusing on it now. They have an office somewhere in Abuja that's focused on that. So you can imagine the excitement, that all the years of advocacy is finally paying off. And then, especially this government, started focusing on, let's do something. I mean, from the last administration, started focusing
Yes.
on natural gas. Then there's the auto gas, and all the different
Yes.
things, all the different gas projects, from NNPC to, the different players in the industry. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
Because 200 TCF of gas, there is a lot we can do with it. Transform Nigeria, transform Africa, with it. Because, as I said, gas generally has direct correlation with economic development. Because if you track GDP of a lot of countries, gas tracks along the same lines because of what you use it for. Most of your plastics, most of, Nigeria, easily 80% of power generated is from natural gas. Easily, and most other countries would have that as base load, I mean, to the extent that coal is going the way lower now. Natural gas is taking up a lot of that, along with some of the renewables.
But I saw, just to touch on that, I saw somewhere, sorry to cut you short.
Okay.
I saw, I actually watched that video, I think it was a day or two ago.
Okay.
Where, of course, I'm for gas, but it made me think LNG, right? Due to the volume, you liquefy it so you can move a larger amount. And the West are saying, yes, it's cleaner, but it's still fossil fuels. However, it is, yes, it's cleaner, but you're not looking at the process, right? Extraction. What's the process of extraction? Second, they look at it from a point of refining it, cleaning it,
processing it,
liquefying it, compressing it, how you do it to take it to liquid. Shipping is a huge one.
Okay.
How do you ship? Is it through the natural gas still, or is it through your fossil fuels?
Okay.
Then you have to decompress it, right? To be able to gasify it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
For you to be able to use it
at the destination.
At the destination.
Okay.
And they brought up this because now there's a lot of LNG terminals that is due to be. They show the heat map where a lot of countries starting to use this, and they were on the other side, right, giving their view of this is not different, and everything. I don't know what you think, because I know there's a skew. There's always skews everywhere we go. But I want to understand your thought process, based on everything you said, on some people still saying the whole process itself. Are we still saying is achieving what we want to achieve, especially when you mentioned the SDG goals as well?
That's a very important question, and that's a very difficult question. But it's a question that needs to be addressed. It's a question that doesn't have easy answers, because you just ran smack into the dual realities of sustainability and energy security and preserving civilization as we know it. Yeah. Civilization has been built largely, on the back of a lot of the dirtier energy sources. So coal, black oil itself, and all the different things. A lot of the civilization has been built on that. So I hear the story about, if you think about the entire production process and utilization process, maybe that natural gas is not as clean, but compared to what?
I guess
it's the first question.
Yeah, compared to renewables.
Well, I think we're going to come back to that. Yes. But maybe compare it with its own ecosystem, because it's a fossil fuel.
Yes.
Yeah. It is unarguably the cleanest burning fossil fuel out there.
Yes.
In other words, it produces much less carbon dioxide emission than any other fossil fuel.
Yes.
That we have used throughout civilization. So whether you talk about coal, oil, diesel, PMS and all of that, natural gas certainly stands on top of that as the cleanest burning fuel. And so I hear the story about, the transition. I'm a big part of that, and I talked about it. But as I said, you run smack into a what I've explained as one of
Yes.
my professors called a wicked problem.
Mm.
That the attempt to solve that problem creates new
Another
ones.
problem.
Yeah. It would have been very ideal and utopian to just say, switch off the natural gas. And then what? I hear you talk about renewables. Okay. But as good as renewables are, if you are talking about the entire production process, renewables are not totally as clean as they sometimes
Yes.
put you
Yes.
sometimes
Because
put it.
yeah.
Because
How it's
if you
projected.
talk
Yes.
about solar panels,
Yes.
okay, the raw metals, they are extracted.
Yes.
You need to extract it. So go to Congo, go to all the different places
You have to
across
transport it.
Africa.
Yes.
Just the extraction process and
Yes.
all of that. By the time you put it together, it's not as clean as it is
for sure,
touted.
yes.
But yes, it is clean because it's renewable.
Yes.
But renewable is not always clean. If you know what I
Yes,
mean.
yes, I understand.
Renewable
Yeah,
is not always clean.
Yes.
You can talk about nuclear. Yeah, nuclear doesn't produce any waste, any environment impacting waste in terms of
some people argue
CO2.
that.
But I'm coming
Yes.
there. But there is fuel rods
Yes.
that you have to think about.
Radioactive waste. and
The
all that.
radioactive
Yes.
waste that you have to think about. What do we
Yes.
do with them? You
Yes.
know, but it is clean. You know, in the sense that it doesn't produce CO2.
Yes.
That warms up the atmosphere. But my point is that in the end, it is a good mix of the cleanest burning fuel with all of these other ones that helps to sustain civilization as we know it.
Yes.
Because just by the conversation we are having, when the Russian-Ukraine war started and Russia started shutting down, Europe got a piece of, what gas does.
Yes. The effect.
Even though Europe is the headquarter of renewables, but
Yes.
they quickly got the gist, if you call it that way. And all of a sudden, countries like Germany that never had an LNG terminal in 200 days turned around something and they had an LNG terminal. Because you need to keep the lights on.
At an affordable price as well.
You need to keep the lights on, and at that time winter was coming. Yes. And all of that. You couldn't, yes. And renewable has its own issue, but obviously we need to put it in the mix. Yeah, which is why we call natural gas the blue bridge to the green future.
I was going to get to that question, which is an amazing line.
Critical blue bridge to the green future, because you need to transit gracefully. You need to transit gracefully into that green future. Otherwise, you are going to undermine hundreds and hundreds of advancement in civilization that society has achieved. You need to power society, in a sustainable way, in a cost-effective way, for us to continue to make the advancement that we are making.
Yes, I'm glad you said that, because I'm on board.
Okay.
I'm on board. I've had this, I won't say an argument, discussions in several spaces, and plus the fact that we have abundance of it here, it just makes so much sense for us, and which leads me to the next part of what I was going to ask you. I'm really intrigued. We were speaking about that before we diverged. It was more of what has been happening, especially in the CNG. At some point I thought to myself, why CNG? We have other gases. Why did we, and why would you think as a country we chose CNG? I mean, there's LPG, there's yes, they're all gases, but I'm intrigued. Is it from your point of view, why do you think it's CNG? Why CNG?
Okay, I stand from the point of view of natural gas. Let's start from that. Yeah.
So you're already biased.
So let's start from the point of view of natural gas, right? So natural gas allows us to do many things. Yeah, as I said, generate power, generate heat cost effectively. That's why abroad, heat in your house, heat for cooking, natural gas.
Yes, natural gas
is one of the most cost effective way to generate heat. So industries use it, and all of that. It's also a feedstock, fertilizer, methanol, and some of the fizzy drinks you drink.
Yes.
People burn natural gas to capture CO2. There are other ways you can capture CO2, but it's an abundant way you can get CO2 that you then clean up, make into food grade that gets into a lot of the fizzy drinks, and use CO2 in medical and many other places where firefighting, where you have FM 300 systems to put out fire. So when you hear a lot about the CNG that government is pushing, or society that is becoming a buzz or becoming a thing, I think it's because of the auto gas component of it. Yeah. So CNG is compressed natural gas.
Yes.
You compress the gas in its natural form, in its gaseous form, into a cylinder, 250 bar gauge. So that's high pressure, a lot of high pressure. If you consider that your tires are probably, a small fraction of that.
30, 40.
And so because of the auto gas, part of it is why there's been a lot of noise, because you then have cars that come in with those cylinders in their boots, where you can put in natural gas rather than PMS or fuel or diesel or things like that, and they run on gas. And the intention is that if you can do that, then you can take away some of the diesel consumption, some of the PMS consumption. And if you did that, then for Nigeria, a lot of the forex that you need to bring them in, even though Dangote and the other refineries are starting to help now, but the forex you needed to be able to continue to import them, you will start reducing that. And that has direct impact on our economy and how robust our exchange rate and all the other things that we do. So it's part of the reason that that has become that popular.
Yes.
But the big part of CNG is the fact that you can transport it to places that don't have natural gas pipelines, and therefore you call it a virtual pipeline solution.
Yes.
So typically from the mother station you can go 200, 250, and some people are stretching it beyond that now, kilometers away from the plant.
Okay.
And then you can deliver it to factories or estates or places where they need to generate power and use it in different ways that I've talked about. That's what has made CNG very popular, especially in Nigeria, that we are still, developing the requisite infrastructure to take natural gas around the country. In most other places that have natural gas, you would have, if in the US there are pipelines crisscrossing states and everywhere, in the UK and most other places, pipelines going into homes, into factories, into all the different places. But because there's paucity of that infrastructure in Nigeria, one way to leapfrog that is to put them in containers, transport them, at least up until pipeline arrive.
Yes.
Pipelines arrive in those places. It's the same thing you can say about the LNG that you start to hear. I mean, there's already some LNG crisscrossing Nigeria. LNG just extends that range. You can go more than 1,000 kilometers from wherever the plant is, which would pretty be much of Nigeria, all of Nigeria that you can cover ahead of pipelines, because pipelines take time. It's a lot of investments. And I mean, AKK pipeline has been going on for many years now. It takes many years, a lot of engineering and many things that go into it. But
and we need it now.
Yeah, you need it now. We need it now. There are factories in Kano, they need it now. The factories in the southwest, in the southeast, and everywhere in Nigeria, they need it now. So that's one way you can get that. So I think it's part of the reason why government and industry and everyone is saying, can we come up with some virtual pipeline solution? So CNG will be one of that. LNG will be one of that. LPG, certainly we've used that long before all of this happened, because we use it predominantly for cooking. I mean, you can use it for power generation and many other things now, but predominantly for cooking. And the intention there is that if you can also promote that a lot, you can replace all the people, using kerosene or wood and all of that, and the deforestation and all the things, all the stuff that go with all of that. And so, in a way, natural gas in all these different variants can then help solve many different problems at the same time. energy efficiency issues, energy security issues, sustainability issues, all of that in one fell swoop. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. And I'll come to this. You've mentioned it in passing of what the government is doing.
Okay.
I want to know: is there loopholes? Is there where we need to plug? Is there something we're not looking at the moment that we need to do to move this faster? To move this conversation a lot faster? Is there something we need to look at?
I think I will probably talk about some of the very good things that I'm very excited about. Yeah, because whatever we are seeing is a culmination. In addition to our advocacy, as I said, this is the last and this present government, as they are starting to do something that we are excited about. So, for instance, I think it was a few days ago, there was the news that the president says all MDAs, they should only buy.
Amazing.
That is amazing.
Amazing news. I was excited when I saw that.
Amazing, because that is demand. You are instigating the demand. You know, so if all of the MDAs, obviously there's a lot of cars that government puts taxpayers' money into to run all of these government institutions.
NMDPRA of the supply end, where they're saying every station they might start making sure that everyone puts.
But that's only because you instigate the demand.
Yes.
Because once you instigate the demand, not only just government, private sectors will start finding good places that they can, invest and put money into building. Some people may just come and only infrastructure they want to build. Sure. Some people want to deal with the supply side of it. Yes. Other people want to further, deepen the demand side of it. Yes. But the point is that that's one way you can trigger, this transformation that we're starting to see. Make MDAs, because all of a sudden, when that happens, then all the major transporters, it may be the next thing. Incentivize them to bring some of their large buses that crisscross the country on it. Incentivize people that want to build infrastructure across Nigeria, refueling infrastructure across Nigeria, so that if a vehicle leaves Onitsha, it knows that you get places to refuel till you get to Lagos, or you leave Lagos, there are places to before you get to Kano.
You don't have that palpitating heartbeat that
your gas will run out and you not know
that infrastructure has to be
so all of those are ways you instigate that development, and so I'm very excited about it. And rather than think of loopholes, I'll probably say let's do more of it. So first of all, government has control over the MDA, so you can direct them to do it. So come up with a lot of incentives for many other people, fleet owners, people that run intrastate city transport, interstate city transport, and many other, avenues where we can use a lot of that. But as a professional, as an energy executive, while I applaud that, I'm thinking of how much does this move the dial? The bad news is that not much, because all of the vehicles combined don't move the dial in terms of gas consumption that much, because it's just a little gas a car needs. One of the pilots that I was part of running some years ago, that was running across Lagos, it was a bus. I believe it was, I don't remember, proper luxurious bus. You only needed maybe 80 standard cubic meter of gas a day. To run the entire, to and fro. Yeah, it's a good thing, but it's small compared to how much it should be. So again, my focus would then be, let's do something to incentivize industries. Because industry can take a lot.
Yes.
A Dangote refinery, sugar refinery down in Apapa, 10 million, 15 million scoff per day. And there are many other places. And if you then go into big industries, so because you need to scale, because if you have 200 TCF of gas, then all these small things that you are doing, while they are laudable, you should be looking for the big wins.
Yes.
So I also like, I hear that government is going to come, to commission the Anor gas facility and all of that. We should do a lot of that require large volumes of gas. So methanol, fertilizer that Dangote is doing, and industries that generate a lot of power, and the power that we're already generating, we hear that sometimes the system is collapsing because there's not enough gas. Unblock all of that, because the more you can you can incentivize all the industries and the community in general to switch to natural gas from all the different sources of gas. You are deepening utilization. Yes. And as you deepen that utilization, not only are you properly utilizing the resource that we already have underground, but the economic development that is unleashed by that, you are getting the advantage of it. And because, as I have said earlier, you should really see this as the blue bridge to a green future, you really need to ramp up what you are doing, because there is that green future that is coming. Sometimes it's coming faster than you would like, but it is coming. It is coming. Solar panels are much cheaper. There are many other things that are getting cheaper now. Cheaper, hydrogen, yes, by different ways. But you can. There are many things you can do. So like somebody told me that the Stone Age did not end because they were no longer stones. It was just because something else came.
That's a good one.
The Stone Age did not end because there are no more stones.
It's still available. But
so
yes,
it is the more reason why you have a lot of it. Ramp up the capacity to use a lot of that to create wealth, to do many things. Even if you don't have anything else to do with it, there is a sovereign wealth fund. That is what Norway is enjoying now. They use most of their oil wealth and just put it into their a sovereign wealth fund that is global now, one of the largest. And it is the income from that they are using to fund many of the development in their country. So there is a lot of that we have to do in Nigeria. Our sovereign wealth fund, it can be better, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So ramp up the utilization of all of those, yes, both the export and the domestic use, and generate wealth and prosperity both in country and enough foreign receipts that you can start figuring out ways to prepare for that green future.
But one can argue.
Okay, tell me.
Right, and the way I look at it is, the government has incentivized a bit, as you might put it. Yeah. Like I love when I saw the 3 plants that I think in Akwa Ibom, Delta State, and that. And I was like, now the infrastructure is coming. The production aspect is being worked on. The capacity is being worked on. When I heard the MDA's news, the fact that stations should have
absolutely,
I think
stations.
That's an amazing incentive. My question to you is, I would say, where does the private sector come in?
That's why there is a fiscal part of the economy. Is to say we give you tax incentives. We are encouraging you. Some people will give free land and give you different kinds of things just so you can come. That's how government incentivize. But quite frankly, you are incentivizing the private sector to come and do what they do well. Yes. And quite frankly, you should really get out of their way. Get out of their way so that they can do their best work. Dangote Refinery is a private sector. Yes. There may be government leg, NNPC has 20% and not, but this was a man and has always been at the forefront of do my own thing, and all of that. So I would say that actually a lot of the development is driven by the private sector. So the fueling station you are talking about, most of it owned by private sector. Yes, you can argue NNPC is technically private.
Now, but NNPC has a large amount.
No, yeah, but NNPC, compared to all of the people, NNPC does not.
No, it doesn't scratch.
Yeah, yes, so yes, if you add up all the OVH and Total and Mobil and all of that together, versus NNPC, they are still in the majority. Yes, yeah, the and then you then add independents and all of those people. So I would say that private sector is actually doing quite a bit, because all the big money you have to raise, you better raise it on the back of the credibility of the private sector. Yeah, Dangote can only go to wherever he raises money, JP Morgan and all the people that raise money. And on the back of what they've done, because they'll be sitting down and say, what have you done? Okay, you have business across Africa. We want to value it. Okay, you're asking for $10 billion. Okay. We are fine to give you that, but that's only that,
Yes.
But the point is that it will be government and private sector working together. Government has, especially in an emerging economy like this, government has significant influence, as you are starting to see. Significant influence, but unleashing the business environment, the marketplace for private sectors to come and do the best that they do. Yeah. Because they are the ones that know how to hire the best talents. They are the ones that know how to retain people. There's a lot of jackpot, but there's still a lot of people here in Nigeria that private sectors have managed to keep here or, find a way to retain those talents. So I would say that kudos to the private sector, and most of the advocacy that I talked about via the NGA, most of the members are private sector. So just pulling that, and there are many others, OPTS and many other energy bodies that are populated by the private sector that have helped to shape the narrative and are continuing to help Nigeria achieve some of the things that it is doing. So I am very, very excited about what the private sector is doing. I'm really just asking government to say, do a lot more to unleash more of this. Unleash foreign investments coming, but also increase the capacity of people that are already here to do a lot more. Because like I said, the overarching philosophy for me is that you have 200 TCF. Do something major. You can't be doing something small that is incremental and all of that. You have to go big or go home, as they used to say. Go big and do many very big projects that allow us to use that in a short amount of time, because the green future is coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I hear you, but I'm still I've always thought this.
Okay.
I mean, you've elaborated a lot of it. I've always thought that the private sector just used to speak, and I never used to see enough action with this speaking.
Okay.
I felt the private sector comes out, we talk, this is what we need to do, this is everything. Then there was no drive, there was no putting money where the mouth is from the private sector. Honestly, that's what I've always felt.
Okay.
There might be several things which you've spoken about, incentives and everything. There's sometimes you just have to do it. There's a bank that decided to just put solar panels around their building. They're probably smiling right now with prices going so much, of diesel going so high. They made that move. Nobody came to tell them anything. So I felt, the private sector, surely, yes, government will do more.
I think you just ran into a fundamental issue, but let's address it properly.
Okay.
So when you talk private sector, you're talking private money. And let's start from that.
Okay.
You're talking private money. In other words, individuals or corporates or corporations have funds, and they have to rationally decide, where do we put that money that makes the best return? Because as long as they are a for-profit organization, it better be that wherever they put money, there is line of sight to returns.
Yes.
So making that decision, in some cases, in a place like Nigeria, where sometimes policy changes, and there are many things that are happening at the same time, it's not a very easy thing. Of course, you've heard of some businesses that are leaving, but there are also, some of them that are coming.
Yes.
But private sector has to make rational business investment decision of where to put their money. And to be able to do that, they would have boards that are asking as one of my friends used to say, native questions. To say, there are opportunity costs. Why are you putting this money in Nigeria when you have the same access to Kenya, have the same access to maybe in the West, or you can use this money anywhere else? So there is that opportunity cost. But there is also what's the risk? What's the country risk? What's the business risk that you are taking on for this money? As investors, because every private organization has investors, they're asking, how do we know we're going to get our money back? How do we even know that we're going to make profit? Before it becomes like the attraction of a moth, where a moth is attracted to light without knowing that light is your death knell. Yes, it's light and it's very, very attractive, but it can be where the person, where the moth gets roasted,
Yes.
So that question typically is part of the reason why sometimes private capital is being held back. Because sometimes you are saying, you know what, let's calm down a little bit. Let's see what the policy environment looks like. Let's see what this government will do. Let's see what their pronouncements is. Let's go and study what they've said is their policy and what is their reputation for sticking to a policy thrust. So while they are doing all that, there is money waiting. There is capital waiting to say, let's figure it out before we jump into it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why sometimes some of the hot money, as they used to call it, will come into the stock market when things are looking okay, and there will be a lot of activity there.
Yes.
And after a while, something changes, and most of that money go out, and then you see the all share index, starts to come back down. But that's hot money. But you want sticky money. That's what you want in an economy. You want money that stays. You want money that sticks. You want money that is invested in infrastructure. You want money that comes into the economy to develop it, and hopefully patient enough to let the cycle, work itself out, and all of that. That's what you really want. That's what you want to attract.
Yes.
But that sort of money is also fairly contemplative. If I'm starting to give money a human personality now, that sort of money is also fairly contemplative. It's fairly conservative to say, let me sleep over this a little bit before I deploy 10 billion into an economy that I don't fully understand, is new. Many things have changed. If I look at the last 10 years, many things have changed. But as I said, part of what government does is signal the market that this is what we want to do and stick to it. Sanctity of contracts. Somebody signs a contract or government signs a contract and you stick with it. Come rain, come shine. Government changes. It doesn't come and unpack all of those things that were supposed to be watertight contracts, and you stick with it. And then, like I was saying earlier, let government create the context and they'll get out of the way of the private sector. So we talk about willing buyer, willing seller, in fixing the price of commodities, natural gas, and all of those things. And some of the deregulation we're starting to see, that's in the right direction. But all of those things are how government can create an enabling environment. Multiple taxation. Somebody, and the presidential task force is working on it now to unify all of that so that the same business does not have many layers of taxes pretty much for the same thing. And they are wondering, will I survive? All of those things. So government create an enabling environment that then unlocks and unleashes private capital.
Okay.
And hopefully sticky private capital that allows development to happen, and the rest of us can feel that.
I hear you. I hear you.
I'm not here to convince you. Just
no.
speak,
but it's very interesting.
I've earned the right to speak
definitely
about these things.
And I see your point of view, and it's like someone having money. You need to understand how to spend it.
Absolutely.
You must see your return. You must have a line of sight of what's going on. Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. I have a question, and we've spoken about 200. The volume we have.
200 TCF.
Yes.
About 200 TCF now.
What's your target? If you say, assuming right now, and by when would you say it's a realistic target? If you get to that, you're happy with and say, yes, I love that. Well, we're not going to get that straight away, right? What is the cutoff where you say, I'm happy where we are, and by when? By how much volume of that? What percentage of that would you be happy with?
I would say, if my data is right, we are probably hovering between 6 and 8 BCF per day of production today of natural gas.
Yes.
With all of these projects coming up, I expect that it won't be a long time before we get to 10 BCF per day, billion cubic feet of gas per day that is being produced. Obviously, a lot of that through going out as export through NLNG and through the West African gas pipeline, but vast majority of it we're also consuming. And with Dangote and fertilizer and all the big projects that are coming up, I would probably say if you spot over 200 TCF with comparators around the world, I think a fair production rate, you shouldn't be shy to get to the 20 BCF per day.
Okay.
And I will probably put that within the medium term. And medium term in our world will probably be maybe 4 to 7 years, tops 10, 10 years, where you double or you get to your 200 BCF per day. That, if you consume a sizable portion of that, that would unleash what's possible in Nigeria.
Okay.
Even if you export a lot of that, that's already a lot of money that will come in as FX inflow into Nigeria that you can then use to do many, many things, both for now and for the future generation. I've talked about sovereign wealth fund, but there's a lot of money you need today. There are very historical projects that we should be taking on. There are roads that need to be constructed. There are hospitals that we should replicate across Nigeria, world-class hospitals that make it unnecessary for medical tourism. World-class schools, public schools that is, that makes it unnecessary for us to go to some of their public schools. Because unfortunately, some of the schools we are going to abroad, they are public schools. They are just properly run. They are just properly, So all of those things, because I'm very big on human capacity development. So that's why I'm talking about health. I'm talking about productivity. I'm talking about education. I'm talking about things that just unleashes human potential, because I don't know if you've seen it in one of my posts recently. I believe, it's my belief, I say it everywhere, you are free not to agree, that the humans of Nigeria or Nigerians are the biggest asset that God gave to this country.
I agree.
Beyond natural,
I agree with
natural resources, and we have abundance of that.
Yes.
There's a lot of sun, there's a lot of water, there's a lot of solid mineral, there's a lot of oil and gas. There is a lot of natural resources, but human beings,
our tenacity, our determination.
No, Nigerians. I mean, I used to do the joke that one of our friends told us that in the North Pole, that there's a man that gathers people together, that he has a church there. It's an Igbo man. He's the pastor of Eskimos in the North Pole. We are adaptable. We can live everywhere. Actually. We are in virtually every country on earth.
We are.
And most places that we blow them away. Look at all the Ivy League schools. We blow them out of the waters. Because you go to somewhere and for the first time, this library is free and all these books are here, and we dig into it. So I'm not just talking about IQ, our resilience, our entrepreneurial spirit. Every Nigerian is a businessman or businesswoman in one way or the other. We will find something to
find
do
a solution.
to even what's it called? As I usually say, the 1 or 0.00 something % of Nigerians that are doing the bad, that are giving us bad name, they are a small percentage of us. But the ingenuity behind what they are doing can be unleashed for common good.
Positive.
Yes. Because it's just the same creativity you need. It's just used in the wrong way. It's almost like people that created viruses, in computing and all of that. You can use that for the same thing, Yeah, because they are ethical hackers. They are,
find ways to protect the same system.
Human beings and Nigerians are the biggest assets. And any government, any institution, any organization that is doing something to unleash that human potential. I talked about this jackpot in it. There's nothing bad in it. Just convert it into value. Convert it into value. There are countries that are looking for 20,000 maths teachers. They don't have. You can come back here and create 20,000 brilliant maths teachers.
Working from...
That even if they are not working from home, you as the government, you enable their exit as a government-to-government interaction, government-to-government deal. To say we are bringing 20,000 of our people to come and cover that maths this thing for you. But there's something we get from it. You pay them properly because we know that they'll send some money to their parents or send some money to their people, which is remittances. Yes. And by the way, it's a segue. Remittances are more than what we get from oil now. I hope you know that. Remittances for many, many years have gone beyond what we get. I remember a report that PwC published where remittances was higher than the entire crude that we sold in a year. That's
alarming.
I'm telling you that our 200 million people that we are, that's part of the arrangement that can happen. And so anything that we can do to unleash that human capacity, you will be the government will be part of, settling those people there and tell the embassy in Canada or anywhere it is to say, 20,000 people are coming. Make sure they are settled. They can't be living under the bridge or they can't find a house. Settle them properly in there. And you have arranged with that government to say this is a G to G, government to government arrangement. Take care of those people. They will solve your maths problem there, because we know that we can deal with all of that as here as well. So I'm saying that because beyond energy, there's a lot of resources, and human beings are the ones that turn those natural resources into assets that a country has. Japan does not have natural resources.
That's the people.
Doesn't. But it's the third, or what is it now? Third largest economy, or fourth. I don't know what it is nowadays.
I think it's in the top 5.
It's in the top 5.
Yes.
They don't have that. They bring LNG. They were using nuclear before Fukushima and all of that. Yes. But they have unleashed the capacity of their people.
The industrial nature of them. Yes. Yes, correct. You mentioned something before we round up, right? There's a quote I hear. I'm going to read it exactly how you said it. Natural gas, a silent catalyst, propels our world forward, yet echoes the need for balance with our planet. Very paradoxical for me. And I thought of it from different angles.
Okay, tell me.
And I mean, you've mentioned part of it now, I believe, if I'm correct. It sounds like you're saying, yes, is needed, but we have to take it out in an ethical way, use it in an ethical way, and also have that strike balance of it. I just want to understand, so I'm clear.
No, you're understanding some point. So I come from a school of thought where it is not either or. Most things in real life are both and. Because it's the reason you have leftists and rightists. Either extreme does not solve real problems in society. Yeah. So a good part of what we have talked about so far is how natural gas has unleashed economic development in society. I just said it in Nigeria. Most of our power plants are fueled by natural gas. So we are here now. Yes. There's a lot of power here, natural gas, and there's a lot of places around the world, in the US, in the UK, and many other parts of the world. Natural gas powers their economy. Plastics that is ubiquitous comes from natural gas, from propane, propylene, and all of that. Fertilizer for agriculture, natural gas. Heating that I've talked about, most industrial processes require heating, whether you're using it to smelt iron, cement, or a sugar refinery that I mentioned earlier, or whatever you use heating for, to bake your bread, bake your biscuits and all of that, natural gas. So we owe a lot of the development and so a lot of the things we enjoy in the civilization, even the technology that we all talk about, natural gas. To generate the power and to do a lot of the things that we do. But the balance there is that even though it's the cleanest burning fuel, it still generates CO2. And I am a scientist. So I am not an activist that would argue blindly to say, no, nothing is hitting our planet. We are okay. No. It is beyond human. There's empirical fact that human activity is heating up the planet, and a big part of that is what we do that generates CO2. And natural gas is a part of that. But the point, therefore, is that while we celebrate the good thing that it has done, we need to be aware that this planet has to stay sustainable. Otherwise, there would not even be a planet to enjoy. Yeah? Because you're already seeing all the hurricanes, all the earthquakes, and all the things that are getting stronger and stronger. Dubai was flooded. That's supposed to be a desert. Many places that you never have imagined. Even in Nigeria, there are many places that in the north flooded. Deforestation and all of those things. We need to do it responsibly. Which is why I kept saying my biggest story here today is that this natural gas, we must make it consciously into the blue bridge, into that green future. So extract it responsibly, use it responsibly to essentially help us gracefully migrating to that
phrase. It's an amazing phrase. It made me think.
That green future. So the echoes is that we must
Yes.
remember that the effect of it will last longer than we are, but we must balance that.
Thank you for that phrase. It made it's a topic on its own. We can stay on that topic.
Absolutely.
But I have one last thing I'll ask you. Except you don't have any other thing you want to say that is pondering you. I have one last thing. It is we have to end it with, what's your energy hack? You said all the jackpot syndrome, right? What's your energy hack? What's that thing that the enabler has?
I'll probably say my hack will be tied to what our energy platform does, EnergyCrossHair Solutions, because it is the platform through which we express what we would like to see in the energy space. So that would be my hack. One of it is that our energy business is focused on 3 key broad service categories. One of them is project development.
Okay.
Because I'm a project development professional, we take concepts to revenue. Yeah. And we are primarily focused on natural gas monetization and renewables development. That's what we are focused on. Our project development desk or practice focuses only on natural gas monetization and renewables development. Yeah. The second bit is capacity development and energy advisory, which is why I will be here, because hopefully people have learned something. But we also come up with unique programs for organizations to educate Nigerians, educate employees, educate their staff, educate the Nigerian populace in our webinars and the different kinds of things that we do or appearances, to ensure that we understand the pivotal place of this energy as an enabler for a lot of the SDG goals, as I've talked about at the beginning. The last part of our offering is something we call technology application. This is where I bring, of course, I had a first degree in technology and there's a lot of our team members. That's where it comes together with automation of energy infrastructure and digital platforms and all of that, because that allows you to scale. Automation allows you to be more energy efficient. You don't have to waste energy because if you let human beings deal with some of those things, you're wasting energy. There are many things that you couldn't do as efficiently as you can, that if you automated, you will be saving that energy. For instance, you come into a room normally if I talk about automation inside building, only when a human being enters this room does the light come on. You're already saving that energy. So when you automate things, so that our practice focuses on energy automation. Yeah. So all those 3 things put together help us to go to an organization and help them enable them to do things they would not have done. I'm sure you are seeing the connection to the enabler.
Now I
help them.
It's clear.
So not only do we help them unleash their projects and their programs and all of that, we go there and unleash their staff and equip them with capacity to do things, capacity to see things from a different perspective. In a few days, we'll be running something we call Energy Sector Immersion Program. Okay. And we are bringing in, people from different parts of the business, lawyers, accountants, and all of that, and immerse them into this industry so that it is their baptism, formal baptism into the energy sector, so that they understand what the sector is about, what is their role, what is the role of their company, and all the different things, So that's my energy hack, if you will.
That's an amazing.
And we do that through our platform, on our website and all their social media, EnergyCrossHair.
You have plenty hacks. It's not one, it's not two. You have plenty, and it's an amazing thing to see what your platform is doing and what you're doing through EnergyCrossHair Solution. That gas monetization thing, it's key, and that's
been my story.
It's key. When I saw everything, I was like, that's an amazing
big
thing.
on technology.
I would like you to just, how can we contact you? How can we, Energy Crosshairs, how can we get in contact with the enabler? What social media handles do you have and all that? If you can let us know. Okay,
so for Energy Crosshair, I think the energycrosshair.com is our website. Okay. At Energy Crosshair is our social media platform on IG, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all of that. At Energy Crosshair, one word. And And then, we can also be reached on, if you want phone numbers, 090.
Don't be like me.
090, then 0001148.
Okay.
Yeah, it's our mobile line, WhatsApp line, and
Yes.
people can reach us through that. But for me, at Myke Oseh, that's all you get.
Yes.
All of our platforms.
The enabler. Just type
You'll get the enabler there at
Yes.
Myke Oseh on IG, on FB, on Twitter, on Thread,
Yes.
everywhere. That's how I can be reached. And I'm more than happy to come into organizations and help them think. We do strategy. We can help them think operations.
Yes.
We can help them think through their projects, how to unleash. And people that are looking for ways to become transit, in this energy transition phase, our renewables development, we do that as a portfolio for you.
Portfolio. Okay.
Development for you,
Yes.
one-stop shop, so that if you want to mix up your gas and your renewables, we can do that, and we develop that as a
blend.
hybrid.
Yes.
It's a hybrid for you, and many other things that we can
That's
do.
amazing.
And I speak, of course.
Oh, yes.
I do all of these, so I'm more than happy. I'm very excited. One of the things I told you on the phone is that you just touched my green button.
I'm glad I did.
You just touched my green button, because I would interrupt every other thing and show up here.
I know you're supposed to be in Abuja.
For us to talk
I know
about
you cancelled everything for me.
Everywhere.
And we appreciate you here at Energy Hack.
Thank you.
And I just want to remind everyone, it is Myke with a Y, but we know that it's an I.
Well,
no, I'm joking.
Yeah.
But thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Again, thanks to the listeners. And that's it for us on this episode. We'll see you on the next episode of the Energy Hack podcast. Thank you.
For having me.